Hey, what's up everybody? Wes here with another video. Thanks for tuning in. This is going to be a follow-up to a video that I posted prior for the Korky Universal Toilet Repair Kit. And I do get a lot of questions from you guys that are trying to get this kit installed yourself. Many of you are very successful, but sometimes there are issues that crop up. And one of the biggest issues that I run into with these things are the toilet always running. So as you see here, the water is continuously filling. The first thing that you need to do is go ahead and take the top off of your toilet very carefully, and then get that placed aside somewhere on the floor. Now usually just go ahead and close the toilet seat and sit down on that for any of these troubleshoots. It's going to be a lot easier for you. And for those of you that didn't see my previous video, this is the Korky Universal kit setup. It's a complete replacement for all the parts inside your toilet here. And I've also went ahead and did the Korky Strong Arm Flush here, and I installed that in that video as well. So the most common thing is here that you may have to jiggle the handle. Sometimes that happens because the chain is too long and gets caught up under this flapper here. You can hear the water seeping in, and that's a noise that's very indicative of a leak on your flapper. This kit comes with a 2-inch flapper, and you just want to make sure that it's the right size for the hole in your toilet. Make sure that the chain's not getting hung up under that, and you also want to make sure that the chain is not too short as well. The chain is adjustable. You just basically can take links out of that as needed and just kind of play with the slack in that. That's going to be your very first thing you want to look at. And luckily on these Korky Strong Arms, they're also fully adjustable. So as you see here, it came with the bronze handle, but there's different clips here that you can pull out and adjust this. So you can also try this before you adjust the chain if you like. Just put your clip aside, pull it right out, and you can adjust the angle, which is going to adjust the length of your chain shorter or longer. And once you get that to where you think you want to test it, just put your clip right back into place, and then hopefully that's going to solve your issue. Another thing is you want to make sure the chain is vertical over the flapper, as straight over that as you can. That's going to help resolve a lot of issues. And to do that, just make sure you spin the flapper on the installation as close as you can, but then you can also undo the second clip and then move it around to try to get it as much over that flapper as you can. And then once you're happy with the location, stick that right back into place and then put in that other red safety clip, and then that part of the adjustment is also complete. Another common problem with the installation of these is having the water line set too high. They do ask you to mark that initially so that you can set your fill valve appropriately here with your overflow tube. If it's not set appropriately, it's just going to be dumping water right into this overflow tube, and the toilet will continuously run, and that's going to be a big problem for you, and you're just going to waste a lot of water that way. And in order to adjust this, your fill valve here, you should be able to twist it counterclockwise, and then it should raise up and down to where you get it matched up here with your overflow tube where you want it. There is a chance you may want to shut the water off, drain it, and then undo your bolts and adjust it that way. But again, this is fully adjustable. You shouldn't have any issues getting your fill valve adjusted to the appropriate height. And some leaks can be small. A bonus tip I'm going to give you is you can drop some food coloring into your tank here and just let things set. And then if you have that same food coloring show up in your bowl, you know you've got a leak, and that's something that you can investigate further as needed. Another common issue with toilets is having water on the floor here. It's indicative of a leak, obviously, and a very good thing to check is just your fill line. There's a lot of pressure on these lines, and these are hand tight right here, this plastic nut. So make sure that that's not dripping, and make sure everything's set up appropriately here with your gaskets upon initial installation. This is going to be a quick thing that's easy to check. You can just look right up under the side of the toilet tank and see if it's leaking. Another thing that's very common, more so than the supply line, or your bolts there in the bottom of the tank. You see I've got the 2 rubber washers there that came with the kit, and I do recommend in my video buying additional washers so that you can put right here on the underside of the tank. Tanks are very common to leak if you don't put 2 washers on there. For some reason the Korky system didn't recommend that, but I highly do recommend that. Another big issue that you could run into if you have a lot of water on the floor and it's neither one of those 2 things, there's actually a wax ring under these toilets that they put in once they install them, and it also could fail. They do go out. I don't have an exact time frame on the life of those. It could just be due to use. But to replace that, there's 2 bolts here you have to undo on each side of the toilet. You'll have to disconnect your supply line after turning that off, actually remove the whole toilet from the floor, and then replace that wax ring. And I've actually got a toilet that I'm going to be installing upstairs eventually, and I'm going to show you that. That way you can kind of see what we're dealing with as far as that wax ring. So here's the toilet on its side, and I don't have the hole cut out in the floor yet, but this is where everything exits the toilet when you flush. and then here's the wax toilet bowl gasket. And basically what's going to happen once we cut the hole in the floor, this will be the seal between the toilet and the floor itself going to the pipe. And really what it looks like here is just this donut shaped wax ring, and you'll pop it out once you're ready to use it, and then you'll be able to install that between the toilet and the floor. So if you do have water around the base of your toilet, you're going to have to replace your wax ring. I may do a future video on this, on actually how to install a wax ring, so stay tuned for that, or let me know if that's something that you're interested in. But this is something that's going to be a pretty easy fix if you're somewhat handy. Again, you're just shutting off the supply line, removing the 2 bolts that hold it to the floor, moving the toilet over, and then replace that wax ring completely. And that's something you may have to do from time to time. Another common thing is the sponge gasket between the tank and the bowl. You'll see I have this one already kind of slipped in here in place. So aside from the bolts leaking, this gasket can also fail. So if you check all the other common issues, you're still getting water, there's a chance that this gasket failed. And it's a very simple fix as well. You can buy these individually at Lowe's or Home Depot. And all you have to do is shut your water off, flush it to empty it, and take these 2 bolts out, and then you just replace your sponge gasket. It means you basically have to pull the tank off, but that's a very simple process. Again, if I wind up having to do that in the future, I'll show you guys that video as well. But I think if you're watching this and you're that handy to do this much, you're probably going to be able to replace that sponge gasket no problem whatsoever. So as far as the Korky Universal toilet system, that's all the main issues I run into a lot. Some people do from time to time ask about plunging a toilet. Very simple. Get a good plunger. Get one like this, not just the little $1 or $2 ones you see at the store. And all we're doing is pushing some air through the toilet line to unclog this. So just give it a few good pushes, usually 2 or 3. Normally it'll flush itself, and after the toilet does flush itself, you should have a clean line, and you'll be able to flush your toilet no problem. So highly recommend, again, getting a good toilet plunger and then keeping that handy by each bathroom. This is our guest bathroom, so I like to make sure that we have one handy for guests. That way, somehow they clog the toilet, they don't have to come out and ask you for one. That can be kind of embarrassing. And the only other troubleshooting thing that I can think of is the loose toilet seats that occur from time to time. You just remove these plastic coverings, and there'll be a flathead screwdriver in there normally, or a screw that's going to allow you to tighten up the seat. And they also have some pretty cool technology nowadays. You can install these no slam seats. That way, if you have kids, if it's in the middle of the night, you use the bathroom, you don't have to worry about slamming the seat and waking everybody up. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you found it helpful. If you haven't watched the installation video, feel free to check that out. I'll link it below. But if you have any recommendations for future videos or suggestions, please leave those in the comments below. Also consider subscribing, and I hope to see you guys next time. All right, peace.